Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Innovative Business Networkers on Facebook. This is Meet Me Thursday, and I'm joined today by Mark Hunter. Mark, how you doing?
I'm great, George. How are you? Happy belated Father's Day, my friend.
Same to you. Good to see you. So,
Same here.
Mark, why don't you tell everybody a bit about yourself and your background and a little about your business?
Absolutely. So again, my name is Mark Anthony Hunter. So my background is originally from New Jersey. We've been in Massachusetts for about 5 years. So my background is in sales and marketing. And prior to coming to Massachusetts, I worked for Johnson and Johnson, where I was based in Dubai with my family and managed business in sub-Saharan Africa. Uh, about 5 years ago, I left Dubai and took a position as a global marketing director for a company based here in Massachusetts, in Marlborough, Massachusetts, called Hologic. And while moving here, my wife, we have two young kids of our own. She was looking for care for them, she ran into a Goddard school. At the time, we were living in Sudbury, and this Goddard school was in Wayland, Mass. And fell in love with it, fell in love with the curriculum, the culture of the school. And as she was doing her research, she found out it was a franchise. And we had an opportunity to buy into this franchise with a school right here in Middleton. And so, a few months later, we took that leap and purchased this school. And so for the first year of existence, this school was run primarily by my wife and the director that we had at the time. I ended up joining about a year later, again, leveraging my experience in sales and marketing. That was my focus. And so we've been here now altogether just over 3.5 years. August will be technically 4 years of us owning this business. And so, it's been a labor of love for us and quite enjoyable experience.
And was it simply the fact that you did have your own kids and you were looking for childcare that made you get into this, into the childcare business, or was that something that had been like a longer life aspiration?
So, in all honesty, it wasn't a long life aspiration. I think it was the coming together of a lot of different things, almost like the perfect storm. And so, we did have two young kids. My wife has always had that entrepreneurial spirit, always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I think the two kind of came together for us at the same time. Again, me being having my experience, running a business on a larger scale, having the opportunity to leverage my experience to help in essence, our family business succeed, has been really a blessing for us.
What would you say makes the Goddard School and the way you provide your service unique compared to other childcare providers?
Great question. So, what I tell families when they come to visit us, I always say that there are two things that I feel that differentiates Goddard, in particular this school, from other schools. One is our curriculum. And so, our job, even though we're a school, is to educate our children. And so in our classrooms, you'll see toys, right? So we are a school and we are a center, and we want to make sure our kids have things to play with. But what you won't see are toys packed to the ceiling. And that's because, 90% of the engagement that a child has in the classroom, we want it to be with the teacher. We want it to be with our friends. We don't want a situation where a child is just playing with a toy or sitting in a boppy for hours on end and not really being stimulated and not really being engaged. Particularly in our toddler classrooms, toddlers in the state of Massachusetts are children from the ages of 15 months to 2.9. And, many schools will have all those kids in the same room as a mixed toddler group. But for us, because we do consider ourselves a school, for us, those are three different classrooms, that age group. Particularly, you can imagine being a teacher and having to create a curriculum for a child that's just out of infants, along with a child that's going into preschool almost. It's a very difficult thing to do. And so, we want our teachers to be focused on a particular age group. We want our students to be with children, around the same age. And so as they're developing and growing, an older child doesn't have to take a step back because the teacher is focused on getting that younger child up to some type of par. So that's one of the things that differentiates us. And then the second is the sense of community and culture that we try to build within the school. We tell all of our families that our goal is to have our school to be a home away from home, not just for the children who are here, but also for the families. Because the reality is, families and moms and dads are super busy, and guardians. They're dropping their children off and then rushing to work or picking them up and rushing home. They oftentimes don't get a chance to interact with the teachers or some of the other families, particularly those parents of their children's friends. And so, we tend to do a ton of events at the school, community events. So we do large events. Like every April, we do a huge touch a truck event where we invite, we have emergency service vehicles, so firemen, police vehicles, to Middleton Electric. They'll come with their cherry pickers. They have other local businesses that'll bring their vehicles as well. This year, we were super excited because we had permission from the town to have a helicopter come and land on our playground, on our parking lot. So the children would have loved that. Last year when we did this event, we had 800 people show up, and we anticipated an even greater number this year. Every May we do a huge carnival for the town as well. So those are the larger community events that we do. But we also do things specifically for our families. And so this year alone, we've had a sleep coach come and talk to our our parents about how to put your child to sleep, from babies through pre-K. What are some techniques that they can use? We had Middleton Family Medicine along with LaFosse Dental and a social worker from Northeast Arc come and talk to our families about all things surrounding health. And so, we do these things. There's obviously no charge, but we do these things because, we want to be a resource for our families. We want to be more than just a ceiling and four walls. We want it to be a place where people can come and get to meet other people, but also get good information. So those are, I would say, the two biggest things that differentiate us from maybe some other centers in the area.
Excellent. I can say from having visited the school in the past, and having two young kids myself, the experience that I could see both from your staff and your children was very different than the experience that my children had. And it's a very impressive thing to see live and as it's going on.
Great.
The group is the IBN, the Facebook group, is basically a growth group. We want to figure out how we can all grow our businesses. What do you do at the Goddard School in terms of marketing, both online or legacy? What are the types of things you're doing to grow the business?
Yeah, so that's one of the benefits of being part of a franchise is that we can leverage what the franchise does, and we pay into that. So we work with our corporate office on digital marketing. We work with them on both radio and print marketing as well, and so we do that. But for us, the biggest form of advertising or marketing are two things. One are our families. Our families can be, I always say, our best profits. As long as we are able to continue to provide some quality service for our families, as long as we're able to, take good care and to nurture and to educate their children, as well as provide them, as I mentioned, being that valuable resource for them, we found that has been our best form of advertising. Having our families kind of go through such a positive experience and sharing that experience and sharing that information with other families. And then finally, the other thing that we do, I touched on earlier, is that, we do community events. We do these large events. I talked about the Touch a Truck. I talked about the carnival. We've done every year for the last 3 years a golfing event held at Ferncroft Country Club that's focused on men's health. That's focused on particularly prostate health. So we do these things because we want the community to know that we are of this community now. We've been here for the last, we moved up here nearly 3.5 years ago. And so we're of this community. Our children go to school in this community. We want to make sure that we bring a value to this community that, and become a pillar for this community that everyone looks to and can be proud of.
Excellent. So We haven't really talked about it, but I know that COVID has hit your industry, especially hard.
Yeah.
Can you let everybody know kind of where you were before COVID hit, where you are now, and maybe where you think you'll be, when the fall turns around and things get back to a little more normal?
Yeah, so prior to COVID, we were a completely full school. We were super excited about graduating our kindergarten preppers or pre-Kers, and we had set up we have a pretty good relationship, a very good relationship with the Boston Children's Museum. So our graduation this year was going to be at the Boston Children's Museum, and all of our families were super excited about that. Unfortunately, that had to be our graduation was postponed, and we weren't able to have it at the Children's Museum. So next year, we'll hope that we'll be able to make that happen. But we ended up closing a few days prior to the governor announcing that all schools are going to have to close. Our families were concerned, our teachers were concerned, and quite frankly, we were, because there was a lot of unknown. And so we wanted to make sure that as a community, everyone within that community felt comfortable with the decision that we made. So we made the decision to close about 5 days prior to when everyone else was mandated. But it's been tough, right? Because there's no revenue coming in for us for April, May, and June. But we wanted to make sure from a community standpoint that we were still able to provide services for our families. And so we ended up doing Zoom calls, had Zoom meetings with all of our children. Particularly for our preschoolers and pre-Kers, we had a Zoom circle time every day for those months that we were closed. And I think our families really appreciated that. One, it gave them a bit of a respite from having to be teachers, but two, it really was impactful for their children. I mean, because you can imagine, we're closed for 3 months. For us, it's a drop in a bucket. But for a child, I mean, that's a huge percentage of their lifetime that they weren't in school and weren't able to hug their friends and play with their friends. And so having the opportunity to see their friends, to talk to their friends was really, really important. I had as we're getting ready to reopen, I had a parent come tell me yesterday that, when his daughter saw, so we actually did a school-wide Zoom. And so, towards the beginning of June, we stopped doing daily Zooms, and we were doing them once a week, primarily because we wanted to get ready for the reopening. And so we did a school-wide Zoom, and his dad came to me just yesterday and said that when his daughter saw her friend for the first time in 3 months, she literally cried. She was so happy to see her. She literally cried because they actually started here as infants together. And one is slightly older than the other one. So as they kind of grew up together here at the school, they haven't seen each other. And so even though we were doing those Zoom daily calls, they were in different classrooms. So when they were able to see each other, she bawled because she was so happy to see her friend that she's known literally her entire life. And so those are the stories. Those are the, those are the benefits that having those Zoom meetings were able to provide our family. So that's what we did from a school standpoint. From a business standpoint, it's tough not having revenue because your expenses don't go away. And so we worked with the government, we worked with our banks to make sure that we were able to survive not being open for 3 months. Unfortunately, a lot of other daycares, a lot of other centers around us, have either decided not to reopen, or they've decided that they want to wait to reopen. And it's been tough. It's been tough in this industry across the country. But we're happy to announce that we are planning on reopening on June 29th, though we are going to be constrained in terms of the number of students that we can accept. So we're probably going to be down about 55 kids when it's all said and done because of state requirements. But we're hoping that by the fall, by September or by October, we'll be able to get back to full capacity.
Has there been any guidance on capacity yet going into the fall, or is it just too early to really speculate?
It's too early. The last information we received is that, you know, we have to be down about 50 some odd kids. And, you know, they're hoping that if trends tend to continue to go where they're going, that by the fall, things will loosen up a bit.
So on a more personal side, what would you say, both professionally and as a business owner, you attribute your success to?
I would say that for us, it's been a labor of love, and it's been a family business. You know, we are a franchise, but we are a family business. My wife started this business. I joined her, like I said, a year later. Our children have been students here. In fact, our youngest is going to graduate at the end of July with his classmates. Our director, her daughter is here, has been here for the last 3 years. Our assistant director just had a son, and he'll be here when we reopen. And so, you know, for us, it's more than just a job. It's more than just a place to show up. It's a family business. It's a passion, and because we are so vested into this business, I think our families see that. Because in many centers, the owners are not present. We are very present. I think families and parents appreciate the fact that if they have feedback or they have concerns, they can come to myself or my wife, and not only will we listen, if you know, if we can make or take actionable steps, we'll do so. You know, we don't consider ourselves experts. Like most successful business people, we're constantly reading, we're constantly learning, and we're constantly taking feedback. And we accept that feedback as long as it can help us, you know, be better and provide better service for our families.
And kind of jumping off from that concept, if someone was starting out in business today, whether they were starting a new business or, you know, starting a new job, what's the one piece of advice you would give them getting started?
So there'd be two pieces of advice. So one would be, know the business that you're getting into. You know, you're not expected to be an expert, but you are expected to be willing to get information and to find information, as well as learn information, right? And part of that is asking people who've kind of gone through what you're trying to go through, getting that information. And then the second piece is, you know, treating your business like you would treat any kind of relationship, because that's really what your business is. It's a relationship, you know, whether it's a spousal relationship or a friendship. You have to work and you have to be committed to it. You know, many small businesses fail because, you know, their owners are have one foot in or dipping their toe in. For us, you know, the reason why we were able to be successful is because this was our plan A, plan B, plan C, and plan D. There was no plan B for us. You know, we were committed to seeing this succeed, and we were very fortunate that we have been able to.
All right, so I always like to end these interviews with some lighter questions, and these are two of my favorites. If you had unlimited resources, money's no object, and you could do anything that you wanted to do, what would it be?
All right, so for me, it'll be investing in, and most people think the stock market, but it really be investing in people and in education. You know, particularly for people of color. One of the things that, you know, that I noticed as we kind of went through this whole COVID closure is that, you know, we were fortunate because we had relationships with banks. We had relationships with other business people. And, you know, both my wife and I have, you know, went to terrific schools. You know, we have an MBA from Cornell. So we were able to leverage all of those things to make sure that our business was able to overcome being closed. But many businesses, many small businesses, particularly businesses of people of color, you know, don't have that relationship. You know, they don't start their business because they were able to get a loan from a bank. They started their business because they were able to save, or they were able to borrow money from friends and family. And so when it came time, particularly for that first round of government funds, because they didn't have those type of relationships, those SBA relationships, they weren't able to get loans, and many of their businesses weren't able to survive. And so, for me, and you know, hopefully this is not too long-winded, an investment in the education of again, people of color and women in particular, but also be able to provide funding and investment in you know, businesses for people of color, businesses for women. I think is critical if we really want to see us get out of this, recession that we've been in, or potentially continue. It's really going to take an investment. And so if I had all the money in the world, if money wasn't no object, that's what I would do. I would invest in education, making sure people are educated on a lot of different levels, but also provide capital for folks where capital is not readily available.
That's great. I always say, I say to my kids a lot that one of my only goals in life is to leave the world a little bit better than it was, when I came into the world, and hopefully better for them. And I think that's one of the best answers I've heard for that question in quite a while. So I'll wrap it up on this one. And Mark Hunter, what is your superpower?
So my superpower is I am an extrovert. And so my superpower is having conversations with people, talking to people. I've led a lot of teams in my career. And I think for the most part, everyone can say that, I've always tried to do right by them. I've always tried to help people advance in their career, even here at our school. I have conversations with our faculty all the time about, hey, what are you looking to do? Are you looking to become a director? Are you looking to own your own center one day? Let's have that conversation. And so being a resource for people, I think has been my probably my biggest strength and best superpower.
Excellent. Well, Mark, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Sure. So we are right here in Middleton, 244 Maple Street, right across from Dunkin' Donuts and down the street from Farmer Brown's. You can find us on pretty well everywhere on the internet. So we have a YouTube channel, Instagram, as well as Facebook. You just type in Goddard School of Middleton and you'll see it. And then we have a webpage. If you go to goddard.com and then you just punch in our zip code or our town name, you'll find us there as well.
Excellent. Well, Mark, you're a great guy, great family man, and you run a great business. Thank you very much for coming on today. And I'll see you soon.
I appreciate it, George. Thanks again, buddy.
All
Take
right,
care.
thanks,